breaking. A perfectly preserved ancient city has been discovered at the bottom of the Black Sea. And what explorers found 40 stories below the surface changes everything we thought we knew about the biblical flood. Experts are calling it the most important underwater archaeological discovery of the 21st century, and the evidence suggests that thousands of people watched their world disappear beneath the waves in a matter of days. We're starting this discovery 300 feet beneath the surface of the Black Sea off the coast of Bulgaria. A team of marine archaeologists from the Black Sea Maritime Archaeology Project has been scanning these waters for 3 years using the most advanced underwater survey technology ever deployed. Their ship carries remote-operated vehicles capable of descending to depths that would crush a human being. The Black Sea is unlike any other body of water on planet Earth. Below 650 feet, the water contains almost no dissolved oxygen. It is one of the largest anoxic basins on the planet. In this oxygen-free environment, bacteria and organisms that normally consume wood and organic material simply cannot survive. This means that shipwrecks in the Black Sea do not decay. They sit on the seafloor in a state of near-perfect preservation for thousands of years. Masts still stand upright, and rigging still hangs from the yards, and cargo still sits in the holds exactly where it was loaded centuries ago. The team had already discovered over 60 shipwrecks spanning 2,000 years of maritime history. Roman trading galleys with amphorae still stacked in neat rows below deck. Byzantine merchant vessels with their anchors still hanging from the bow. Ottoman warships with cannons still protruding from their gun ports. Each wreck was a time capsule sealed by the anoxic water. But on this particular day, the ROV pilot noticed something on the sonar that did not look like a ship. It was too large and too regularly shaped to be a natural formation. The sonar return showed straight lines and sharp angles and what appeared to be a grid pattern. The ROV was directed to investigate. As it descended through the dark water, the floodlights illuminated something that made the entire survey team go silent. Stone foundations arranged in straight lines and wooden posts driven into what was once dry land. The unmistakable remains of human habitation. Rows of timber-framed houses with their floor plans still visible. A defensive palisade wall surrounding the settlement. Stone tools and pottery fragments scattered across the seafloor. And everywhere there were the remains of wooden structures preserved so perfectly that tool marks from 7,000-year-old axes were still visible on the beams. The team leader, Professor John Adams, from the University of Southampton, ordered the ROV to hold position. He needed sediment samples, and he needed them immediately. The ROV deployed a coring device that drilled into the seabed and extracted a cylinder of sediment 2 feet long. Inside that core were fragments of wood and charcoal, and what appeared to be grains of domesticated wheat. The samples were rushed to radiocarbon dating laboratories across Europe. The results arrived 3 weeks later. The charcoal from the settlement's hearths dated to approximately 5600 BC. The wooden posts were cut from oak trees that were felled in the same period, which meant this settlement was inhabited 7,500 years ago in the late Neolithic period. This was before Stonehenge and before the Egyptian pyramids and before the first cities of Mesopotamia. This was a time when most of Europe was inhabited by small bands of nomadic hunter-gatherers who never built permanent structures. But the people who lived on the shores of the Black Sea had built an organized community. They had cleared forests and planted crops and domesticated animals. They had constructed timber-framed houses with proper foundations and defensive walls. They had made pottery and woven textiles and traded goods with distant communities along the ancient shoreline. They were not primitive cave dwellers. They were farmers and builders and traders living in a settled community centuries before anyone thought such things existed in this part of the world. And then something catastrophic happened. Around 5600 BC, the Mediterranean Sea breached the Bosporus Strait. The evidence for this event is written in the geology of the region. Sediment cores show a dramatic change from freshwater deposits to saltwater deposits at exactly this time. The sea level in the Mediterranean had been rising for thousands of years as the last ice age ended and glaciers melted. When the water reached the top of the Bosporus sill, it did not trickle over slowly. It carved a channel through solid rock in a geological instant. The flow would have been 120 times more powerful than Niagara Falls. 40 cubic kilometers of water poured into the Black Sea basin every single day. The freshwater lake that had existed for millennia was transformed into a saltwater sea in less than a year. The water level rose by over 300 feet in a matter of months. Every settlement along the original shoreline was submerged beneath hundreds of feet of water. The people who lived there had no warning and no escape. They would have watched the water rise day after day, swallowing their fields, and then their villages, and then everything they had ever known. They fled inland carrying whatever they could grab. They left behind their homes and their tools and their hearths, and their city sat in cold darkness for 75 centuries. This event may be the origin of the Great Flood myth that appears in cultures throughout the ancient Near East. The Sumerian Epic of Gilgamesh, written around 2100 BC, describes a catastrophic flood sent by the gods. The Babylonian Atrahasis epic tells the same story. The Hebrew book of Genesis recounts the story of Noah and the Ark and the 40 days of rain. Each culture recorded the memory of a flood that destroyed their world. For centuries, historians dismissed these stories as mythology, but now marine archaeologists had found physical evidence of a real flood that really happened and really destroyed real communities. And it was not just one settlement. The Black Sea Maritime Archaeology Project has mapped the ancient shoreline for hundreds of miles. They have identified more than 60 potential settlement sites dating to the same prehistoric period. Each one could contain artifacts and structures that rewrite our understanding of Neolithic Europe. The team has returned to the site multiple times since the initial discovery. They have mapped every foundation and every post hole using photogrammetry. They have created three-dimensional models of the entire settlement that can be explored with virtual reality headsets. They have extracted samples from cooking hearths that reveal what these people ate 7,500 years ago. They hunted wild game, and they raised domesticated sheep, and they grew wheat and barley. They ate fish from the freshwater lake, and they gathered wild berries and nuts from the surrounding forests. They were healthy and well-fed, and their community was growing. And then one day the sea came for them, and they ran, and they never came back. Their emergency was recorded by civilizations that did not yet have writing. It was passed down through oral tradition for thousands of years until someone finally carved it into clay tablets. And now, after 7,500 years, we have found the physical remains of what they fled. If you want more stories about lost civilizations and ancient discoveries that rewrite human history, hit like and subscribe to Forgotten Files. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new episode, because every year we find something new at the bottom of the ocean, and the next discovery could change everything we think we know.